The journey is conversations with ordinary people about stories of transformation and how we may have had setbacks in our life and how we persevered through those, how we've learned from those obstacles, and how they've maybe helped us on our path today.
Well, welcome to the journey. My name is Kevin Polkey, and I am the host of the journey. And today we are going to continue our reflections on setting goals uh, for this year and what things can we do to make some progress toward uh, attaining those goals, or or at least being able to not when we have setbacks, not to give up on those goals. Uh, Things happen regarding the weather and changes our routine, or maybe we get a sickness that comes in and temporarily throws us off or changes our energy, um, or our ability to do our routine. Those setbacks are going to be part of what we're going to experience in the next um, 11, 12 months. It's what we do in response to them is really is really going to be the key. The idea is that if we do have a some type of setback or obstacle, how do we come the following Monday, come the following Wednesday, how do we restart that schedule? So first, to do that, we have to start with what is that routine that we're going to initially implement? What are those changes that we want to implement? Maybe it's going to be as simple as setting a goal for making the bed every time, every morning when we get out of the bed. Maybe it is going to be scheduling your morning so that you get up 30 minutes earlier so that you can have a quiet time and a reflective time to either journal or to read, or maybe to get started on a movement program. Maybe it'll be a combination of all those things. Setting a goal for what that is, writing that goal down, and then checking in and seeing how you did after a week, the second week, and build toward that third week. For me, doing those types of things are key for me to feel grounded and in a growth mindset, physically, mentally, emotionally, as well as spiritually. Today, my spiritual growth is as important as my lifelong drive for physical growth and development. That when I'm looking at what am I developing physically today, today isn't about a certain weight that I can squat or bench press or a bodybuilding competition that I can get ready for or a season to get ready for. Today is more about increased flexibility, mobility, stamina, and overall function. Today for me, with my body, it works out best that I do some type of movement every day and some type of stretching every day, and that the exercise or workouts are somewhere between 5 times a week to 6 times a week. That sticking with that routine of being able to do that on a consistent basis, so that if something comes up, um, meetings that I have scheduled in the morning, appointments that I have to attend to, family crisis that I have to adhere to. Um, that my goal is to get back to that 5 times a week. Not that I'm going to be lifting weights every day, but I'm doing some type of movement in some type of way of stretching and increasing flexibility as well as strength. And I'm also working on practicing being grounded. For me, getting up, setting my alarm to get up early before the rest of the house gets up is important for that grounding. That as I go through different devotional books, reading those and then going into journaling and writing out my thoughts, again, are critical for setting the tone for the day. And then what am I journaling? Not only maybe thoughts I have or events that may have happened or things that I may be wrestling with, but also the intent of being in God's presence, the intent on how to be led by God when it comes to making decisions, using with God, using that wisdom to discern what door to go through and what door to keep closed. That by doing that, it helps me practice and being open to this idea of being mindful. And then after I do that, I may look at some emails or whatever it may be from a work standpoint, and then I go down to my basement where I have a workout area and I work out for 30 to 40 minutes. And then we just recently bought a sauna for the house, and then I'll 3 to 4 days a week will end with 10 to 15 minutes in the sauna, which is another uh, grounding, mindful opportunity to pray and meditate. I want to talk about also the opportunity that once I leave the house, in the mindset of being present and mindful, what exercises could I do just as I'm going through the marketplace or a store? That when I leave my truck to go into a store, in the path that I'm going, if I notice that something's on the ground, I pick that up and throw it away. That when I'm at the store, maybe I'll see somebody that I hadn't seen for a while and have an opportunity to have a brief conversation. This is something that I did when I was when my kids were young and they'd go to the grocery store with me, and because I was working quite a bit and didn't have a lot of opportunities to be with them, I would want them to go with me to the grocery store. And one of the things that they would point out is that how many different times that people would come up and talk to us, either people I knew from the community or whatever it may be, and having conversations. So a normal, maybe 45 minutes in the grocery store would sometimes be anywhere between 60 and maybe 90 minutes. The other day I had something that happened that was one of those days. I had ran a couple errands and made the decision that I was going to stop by a particular grocery store to pick up groceries for Diane and I, as well as my mother. And as I went to the grocery store that I go to probably on a weekly basis, uh, I wasn't even halfway through the produce aisle, and an individual that worked with me in the past, we end up having a 20-minute conversation and got caught up on what's going on in her life, as well as where things were with me and how much I was grateful for getting to know her through our working together in the past. And then I continued going through the grocery store. And as I went a little bit farther in, maybe 5, 10 minutes farther in, I'm walking down one of the aisles and I came across a therapist that used to work for me, who then told me that she had officially retired in the last 6 months and how much she was enjoying retirement and how she reflected on the time when she was at KP as well. We parted, and I was going to wrap up my time getting the items that I needed. And over in the dairy section, someone walked by that I had recognized and that I had done some work. And actually, her daughter had been a guest on the podcast um, a couple times. And so we reflected, and she shared me some of her experiences and stories and what she's doing now and the book that she's working on. In a matter of 60 minutes, while I was supposed to be grocery shopping, I came across individuals that I had known from our past in different ways, and that I was able to spend a few minutes talking with them, catching up, and being able to connect with them. I sometimes think, so God, is that why you want me to go to that particular grocery store versus a different grocery store at that particular time so that I could interact with those three individuals? Or is it, or was it because of the brief conversation that I had with the person who was checking me out as I was getting ready to pay through the checkout line? Uh, was that interaction, was that the reason why I was supposed to be there? Or was all of it was the reason why I was supposed to be there? Yes, it was about getting groceries, but it was maybe also to be available for God to work through me or God to work through other people for us to connect in those moments. Easily distracted, I could be focused on the cold weather, uh, just getting inside and not paying attention to what is on the ground or not on the ground. That the certain times of the year when it's spring, it's easy for me to be mindful about looking at all the new growth, or in the summertime, being able to have the windows down and feel the breeze, or in the fall when the colors change, or when the Christmas lights first come on, or the first snow falls. But in January and February, when it's cold and bitter cold, if I'm not being careful, I could easily just stick my head down and try to get from point A to point B instead of being mindful and present and seeing all the gifts and all the opportunities around me. So for me, doing those exercises on a daily basis to start my day very much directly set the tone for my day throughout the day so that I can have an experience, even if it's in a mundane task as grocery shopping or getting gas at the gas station. I think for me, it starts with those consistent uh, behaviors and habits and rituals for me to go back to if I get thrown off course, but it's also to be able to allow me to remind myself of who I want to be and then choose to do that throughout the day. What is it and how is it that you want to be? And what are you putting in place to allow that to start fostering and growing in your life? As always, I appreciate you being here, and would appreciate any thoughts or ideas that you have regarding these reflections as well. Look forward to being with you next week.